Disney has a remarkable place in history. Around 2017, not much was really known about the company. And all that you can see in the community were just people making sequels. From what was pieced together, one particular Disney film has caused enough controversy to be called, simply put, the film. It was shown to have a ton of gore, porn, and blood fetishes that, well, the film was recently removed, given these aspects. It can, however, still be accessed. I did this because one of the moderators handed me a piece of paper with writing on it. It was a code of sorts. He pleaded me not to ask them about the secret film ever again. It wrote 3/15/3/25/20/21/19. I went home after my shift. I work at Walt Disney Animation Studios as a janitor, and typed it on my computer. And what it showed me was an American computer animated film produced by Walt Disney Animation Studios, released by Walt Disney Pictures itself. The title was Cocytus, the said code only in letters. Well, it started out in a prison cell. The first thing I noticed was the intense heat in the film. It was so far beyond the ability to sustain life. I wondered how the characters could even be alive in this place. The character, from what I recall as a first-person viewpoint, wanted to get up. But he or she tried to move, and it took so much effort. There was no strength in its body. The character looked up, and I saw those two enormous creatures in the cell. Demons, pacing like vicious caged animals. One was reptile-like in appearance, with bumps and scales all over its body. It had a huge jaw, sunken eyes, and claws about a foot long. These particular two were about 12 or 13 feet tall. They were blaspheming, cursing God, had an extreme hatred for everything about him. But what they said is still etched in my soul, and I hear each syllable clearly when I remember, yet I can't manage to get it down on paper. These deep, guttural voices, weary but full of malice. It was as if the voices were coming together out of the ground from a distant, moss-eaten sepulcher. What the voices said I couldn't understand, but it filled me with inescapable, crushing dread. It was completely alien to me, yet at the same time instantly recognizable, as if I'd known these voices since birth. They then directed the hatred that they had for God towards what I assumed was the main protagonist. I wondered to myself, why? What have he or she, or it, ever done to them? The one demon picked the protagonist up, threw him or her at the wall, and the protagonist's bones broke audibly. By now, I knew then that the character was a male, because I could hear his grunts and groans when he was getting beaten by these nightmarish giants. The character collapsed on the floor. I couldn't believe that this was actually happening right in front of me. Surely the protagonist would be dead by now. The other demon picked him up, dug its claws into his chest, and tore the flesh open. I could now hear the man's pain-filled groans and guttural screams with gnashing teeth. It hung like ribbons. This was actually happening. I thought, this can't be happening. I noticed that he had a body, but there was no blood or water coming from the wounds. There's not one drop of water in this place. Those demons had no mercy over him whatsoever. About this time, it went dark. I don't know what it was that was there to illuminate it so that I, the viewer, could see. But a light was withdrawn. It was pitch black in the dark and disturbing place. I mean, it wasn't just dark. You could literally feel the emptiness. The character was taken out of this prison cell and placed over next to this large, raging pit of fire. This pit was about a mile across, with flames raging high up into this open cavern. This is where I could first see people inside this pit. People were burning and screaming. I know that this is awful to hear about. Most of us have never seen a person on fire, unless you're a fireman. But the flesh was hanging off their bones. People were screaming, and the screams were so loud that you just wanted to get away from them. But you couldn't for all eternity. You had to endure that. I noticed that there were different levels of torment and degrees of punishment. The character wanted to talk to a person, just anybody. There is pleasure in conversation and being with people, but you're kept apart. And even when I saw those people in the pit literally burning through the flames, you're kept at a distance. You never have any conversation. Okay, you're isolated and alone for all eternity, and that alone is enough to bear. You have no purpose. You have no destiny. It's just completely fucking useless. It doesn't matter if you're somebody famous there. No one will know who you are there. You have no identity, and you understand the situation of you not getting out. The stench in that place. It's gotta be so foul and putrid. The worst odors you can ever imagine. Worse than any open sewer. Also, there's the smell of burning sulfur. If you ever go to Hawaii, to the volcanoes, they have signs posted that tell you cannot go beyond a certain point because of the toxicity of the burning sulfur coming up. It will kill you if you breathe it in. It's called sulfur dioxide. And sulfur is just another word for brimstone. You're breathing in this foul, putrid, disgusting air that you don't want to breathe. It's even worse than that because there's not enough air to breathe. You have to fight for even the tiniest bit of oxygen. You feel like any moment you're going to die of suffocation. And you need to sleep in that place. The character only slept for 23 minutes, but it felt like he was going 23 weeks without sleeping. If you stay up for 2 nights without sleeping, on its own, you can't function. Well, in that specific place, you need to sleep also. But you never get to sleep because it gets progressively worse. And standing next to this large pit of fire, I could see demons shoving people in. People were burning. You're totally helpless. You can't fight them off. They have great strength and you don't. The protagonist was standing beneath this tunnel, and all along the walls were demons. Twisted, deformed, grotesque, some only about 2 to 3 feet tall. Some going as high as 12 to 13 feet tall. And there were snakes all along the edges. I could only see along the edges and through the flames. It's so dark in there, it just consumes all light. The character was now standing on a bed of maggots. People have them crawling all over them. I didn't know this, but if a dead animal is being eaten by maggots, when the flesh is consumed from the animal, the maggots die. I never knew that. But they'll die after they consume the flesh. I mean, isn't that disgusting enough? You're hungry, but you never get to eat. You experience both hunger and thirst. You remember the rich man who wanted only a drop of water? Thus, to give you a drop of water, that wouldn't suffice, would it? You wouldn't rely on one drop, but in that specific place, you would. You'd do anything for just one drop of water, but you'll never get that one drop. And as I was looking at all of this horror, something began lifting the protagonist up this tunnel. It was pitch black. And all of a sudden, this bright light appeared. I knew immediately what it was. Symbolically, anyway. I didn't see his face. I just saw the outline of a man standing in a bright, pure, holy light. Like no light I've ever seen, and the character just passed out. I don't know if he died then and there. The character and 5 people board an elevator with a title card that read, "Weeks later." But later, the elevator becomes stuck between floors. When security finds them, they notice that there is CCTV and a radio with which they can call into the elevator. But they have no way of hearing the passengers in return. Finally, the old man, seemingly transformed into what I saw, was a nightmarish being with a face that resembles a demented skull with flesh still attached to it. He looked as if his whole entire body was burned. He wore a black robe with a hood slacked on his skeletal head, and it is revealed that he is the devil himself. I felt my stomach turn and my heart race when I heard the devil's voice. It was the deep, stony baritone, somewhat more cheerful than the demon's nocturnal chant, but with unmistakable menace. "Mr. Collins, are you there?" How did he know my last name? I know I used to work for Disney at the time, but never in my life have we ever made something that has the characters say the viewers' names. I thought this was a line of dialogue from some unknown voice actor, but I can see that the devil was waiting for a response, patiently, with a nightmarish grin on his face, letting me know that he was pleased, admiring the frightened expression on me. Yes, that's me," I croaked in response, choking out the last bit of voice I had left. "You're searching for my film. Is that right?" What the fuck is he talking about? His film? Did he make this? No, he was a character. A computer-animated model from 3D clay modelized by computer graphics, characterized by just ones and zeros. "Yes, that's right," I uttered, trying my best not to sound shaky. "Oh, good. Martha just phoned from Walmart. She wants you to look after her son, Charlie." How did you know their names? I finally used all of my strength to utter a question. I had never been completely scared shitless before. "Is Charlie's birthday March 2nd? What? How are you dealing with the divorce? Broke your heart, didn't it? How did you know about any divorce? You're just a character. Do you really think that, though? The devil asked while cocking his head slightly like a dog. His crimson fireball-like eyes squinted. How is this possible? I mean, could he hear me? Could he see me? I honestly don't know anymore. Just then, the porcelain demon stepped forward and he faced me with all the malice of hell. I suddenly felt the most vile stench that I've ever smelled. It smelled so toxic that it could easily burn my nose off. I'm more real than you think, he hissed with a devilish skeleton grin. This place is real. You're just looking past a window to our spiritual realm. We knew that you were there this whole time. And I gotta say, you scare easily. It's been weeks since I forgot how to sleep after that. Have I really seen hell live? I don't really know what the answer is, but I feel like I know ever since seeing that unknown film. And this time I was ready. A whole bunch of people have been contacting me, trying to get some sort of video from the film. My answer to you is that it's just too dangerous. If I did that, it could very well drive you insane, scare you to death. The film and the code itself has some sort of strange power. The devil and his minions follow me everywhere I go. I see shadows in the corner or hear sounds coming down the hallway when I'm the only one home. If the devil or some other of his demons are still there, they will let you know. But they will never let you see them until it's too late.